What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Kruger, surprising you with new topics every single week and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. And we have another UFC event this weekend, and we're heading to a new city. You know what? I love going to new cities, and we are in Sacramento, California, this upcoming weekend, headlined by Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez and Anthony Fluffy Hernandez in the men's middleweight division. Some very fun implications with this. We also have some new light heavyweights debuting. We also have some big heavyweight matchups. It's honestly a fun card. I'm looking forward to it. I know a lot of people were complaining like, oh, this isn't that big level of an event, but I would honestly argue that for a fight night in a city we never go to, they're getting a treat. I cannot wait to cover all of this. We have predictions for the full card on today's episode. As well, we have an official movie review of The End of Oak Street. That's right, I saw it in theaters, starring Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor. I'll give my thoughts on that, as I've been on a movie seeing spree, or movie watching spree, I should say, and I definitely have my thoughts, because I am definitely a harsh critic. And as well, we'll be kicking off today's episode with your Dana White Contender Series Season 10, Episode 2 recap. It was leagues better than episode 1, and we have got 5 new people in the UFC, so I very much look forward to going over that. Actually, is it 6? I think we have 6 new people in the UFC, but starting us off, all right, we just have this quick little thing before we get into our Dana White's Contender Series recap, and that is the news that Yair Rodriguez has pulled out of the UFC Noche main event. The number 5 ranked featherweight Yair Rodriguez, who hasn't fought since April of 2025, was supposed to take on the number 6 ranked Gene Silva in Glendale, Arizona, September 12th. He has pulled out. That's right, Yair, the pullout king Rodriguez, is out. Taking his place will be Jose Delgado. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Jose Delgado is a name in the UFC. He has been around now for, if I can pull this up real quickly here, I believe he's a Contender Series veteran, but 2025 officially, and he's been pretty good. You know, he won his first 2 matchups by round 1 knockout. He would then lose a very close decision to Nathaniel Wood in October. So far this year, he has had a great split decision fight of the night against Andre Fili and a great competitive win over Austin Bashi. So this is a bit of a step up for him. With him being 4-1 in the UFC, it's good. However, 12-2 records, 7 first-round finishes. Is it enough for Gene Lord Silva? I just don't think it is. Gene Silva is an absolute animal. He is 17-3, 12 of those wins by knockout, 10 of those in the first round. So I look forward to seeing Gene Silva take on whoever he's fighting, but I definitely think it's a bit too high up of a jump for Jose Delgado. Then again, I've seen crazier upsets this year and overall in the UFC. So let's get right on into some of our new people in the company. That's 6 now. I have confirmed that. And we had a great Season 10, Episode 2 episode. That's right, Episode 2 of Season 10 delivered in a thunderous way. We kicked it off with Roman Gabriel Puga taking on Tanner Tremblay, and coming in to this matchup, Roman was the -160 favorite, Tanner was the +130 underdog. Tanner coming in from Minnesota, Roman Puga coming in with a great boxing background. He's only 5-1 though, training out California. And fight of the night, fight of the season, fight of the year overall. This was one of the best MMA fights I have ever witnessed. Roman Puga lands 186 significant strikes to Tanner Tremblay's 138. 226 total strikes to Tanner Tremblay's 148, and defends 10 of 11 takedowns thrown at him. That is right, Roman Puga looked absolutely incredible here. And shout out to Tanner Tremblay. Tanner Tremblay, I thought he was going to get knocked out in round 1, manages to survive, fights back hard in round 2, fights back even harder, might have even taken the 3rd round, but at the end of the day, Roman Puga wins. No-brainer contract there, and Dana White was about to walk out, and then Sean Shelby walks up to him and goes, hey, I want Tanner Tremblay in the UFC. So both of these guys getting UFC contracts. Go back and rewatch this fight. It is just pure 3 rounds of chaos. Just 2 dudes swinging to the death. If you ever want to watch a fight where 2 guys are fighting to the death, it's this fight. I mean, the body shots Tanner Tremblay are insane. Roman Puga's jaw is nasty, and he's going to be the one trending upwards. He's 6-1, 5 straight wins. excellent stuff here. As for Tanner Tremblay, you're 7-1 now, but you're making it to the UFC. All right, so I don't think he's too upset. Featherweight division is going to be very, very lucky to have these guys. So who are some people that they could potentially take on? Well, you got to look at, a bit of the lower level guys. I think Austin Bashir would be a great opponent for Roman Puga. For Tanner Tremblay, I'm looking maybe a bit more down. Someone like a Hyder Emil. I think those are two names that kind of come to mind for those guys. But hey, this was fantastic. 10 out of 10. Absolutely love this fight. I mean, if you ever want to watch 3-round fights, this is the one to check out. After that, we had our first knockout of the evening as Alec Lorenz runs through Muhammad Ali. He came in as the plus 260 underdog. Muhammad Ali was minus 320 as a favorite. And Muhammad Ali just has no head movement, kept his head on a straight, narrow line. Alec Lorenz capitalized on it, fired off 27 strikes to 14, ended up dropping him, TKOing him. Great stoppage, 2.5 minutes into round number 1. So Alec Lorenz moves up to 8-2, redeems himself after losing last season to Abdulrahman Yakhyayev, and has now picked up 2 straight wins. So good stuff for him. 7 knockouts of his 8 wins, and the 100% finish rate stays intact. These are now back-to-back round 1 wins in 2026. And I don't know his ceiling. Light heavyweight is just impossible to really deal with. If I could honestly give him a realistic person to make a debut against, Junior Tafa is taking on Liuc in Shanghai. Low-key the loser of that, or even the winner, I could see Alec Lorenz debuting against. I think that could be a potential fight. As for Muhammad Ali, I mean, this guy just clearly is not built for the UFC. Has no defense whatsoever. And when I really look at this guy's career up until this point, he's just been fighting guys who he can easily take apart with body shots and get TKOs over. I mean, when he was 2-0, he was taking on a guy who was 7-17. Okay, his last win before this fight in March took on a guy who was 7-9-1. So clearly the signs were there. Alec Lorenz was the better competitor and pulls off a big upset to start the evening. We kept it rolling with another thunderous matchup. Christian Perez and Logan Paxton, the favorite, minus 230. Puas. Christian Perez takes out Wolverine, what a nickname, the plus 190 underdog, Logan Paxton. Logan Paxton didn't make it easy by any means. He might have even won round 1. For the fight, went 1 of 7 on takedowns, so takedown defense from Christian was looking good. Really dealt through some damage in round 1. Came back in round 2 out very strong, fended off a takedown, kept his composure, ended up clipping him with a big punch, and gets the round 2 knockout 1 minute and 6 seconds into it. So he moves up to 15-2. I'm excited to see this guy in the UFC. 2 straight wins, trains out of the goat shed, make that 12 of his 15 wins by finish. Also, he's 2-0 in 2026, with both of them being knockouts. So, very happy for Christian Perez. He redeems himself after last season, losing to Manuel Sosa, who's not a bad guy to lose by any means. And guess what? Dana White said, I want this guy on the UFC no-Che card. So you can't expect him to fight either someone who's been in the UFC, or my money's going to be just a random short-notice guy who they could just find on the regional market for Christian Perez to take on. But I'm very excited. He looked great, and you guys got a good one in the lightweight division. We need lightweights, and he's definitely going to be a playmaker. For Logan Paxton, obviously it's not ideal. You're going to move down to 10-2. But, he was the underdog for a reason. Okay, at 31, it's looking a bit bleak, but just stay on the radar. Keep taking fights. You're clearly good. Trains out Elevation Fight Team. I will say he is lost in the LFA and in the Contender Series. He's gotten some wins in Anthony Pettis' Fight Club League, but other than that, I don't know. He might just be built for the independent market and not ready for the Contender Series. Like I said, he did have some good moments, but ultimately Christian Perez was the better fighter. Now, that led us up to our co-main event, if you will call it that. Trent Miller, Douglas Rodriguez. Trent Miller at plus 340 defeats the minus 440 favorite Douglas Rodriguez with a frickin' Vaughn flute choke. I mean, just dissipated him, all right? Just picked him apart in round 1. Obviously, Douglas was better on the feet. Douglas did look like the better fighter, but Trent landed a takedown, controlled him on the ground, outstruck him 81-29 once he got him there. Round 2, same gig. took him down, locked in a Von Flue, and the lights went out for Douglas Henrique Rodriguez. That's right, a plus 340 underdog getting it done in Trent Miller. He'll move up to 10-3, 2 straight wins for the man fighting out of Extreme Couture, and he has redeemed himself. He also lost on last season's Contender Series, and he gets it done. So clearly some people, Alik Lorenz, Christian Perez, Trent Miller, can redeem themselves. Other guys like Muhammad Ali, no, not cut out for it. So Dana White kind of gave us a swerve with Trent Miller. He said, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I think that Rodriguez is the better fighter. Then proceeds to praise Trent Miller for being an underdog, dominating him, and getting the finish. And at 30 years old, hey, welcome to the UFC, my friend. Middleweight division. Hey, I love it. I really do. Who can he take on? Well, there's always going to be guys out there. I don't really know what level of competition they want to start him off with, but if Dusko Todorovic is still in the UFC, I think it could be a good opponent for him. He's also in a similar situation where, he's been trending down. Actually, he's not in a similar situation. He's been trending downwards as of late. So if he still has a contract in the UFC, Trent Miller could take him on. As for Douglas Rodriguez, something just kind of tells me, he's 7-2 still. He's still a pretty talented fighter, 5 finishes, that the UFC will keep him on the radar. Maybe bring him back next season, maybe bring him in short notice. But at 27, if you go out there and get 1 to 2 wins at most, they'll bring you back for season 11. So Douglas, stay fresh. Trent Miller, great upset victory. That brought us to our main event, the best fight of the evening, and it wasn't the fight of the night. But it was a great fight, but it was impossible to beat Roman and Tanner. But for the main event, the thing to send the fans home that night, just a war between Nemo and Kaik, and Nemo had been chirping him all week. He'd been talking trash, he was talking trash mid-fight, and round 1, Kaik Brito ended up winning, landed a takedown, outstruck him 58-39. But round 2, Nemo defended 2 takedowns, outstruck him 55-49. Heading into round 3, momentum was going towards Nemo. We started off, Kaik Brito goes to throw a big flying knee, misses, Nemo clips him, and then Kaik Brito backs up against the cage, kind of fakes a throw, then puts his entire body into a straight, clips Nemo Fazil, his head snaps backwards, sweat spraying off of his head, his hair moves, and the lights go out in Vegas as Nemo Fazil is put out cold by Kaik Brito. Oh my goodness, we called it. I knew Brito had it in him to defeat Fazil, and he did. What a freaking moment. Truly, what a moment. Redeems himself after losing on season 7 3 years ago. And he is now 20-6 professionally with 20 freaking finishes, 17 of them being knockouts. Kaik Brito, 3rd straight win. He is as legit as people are hoping he is. Yeah, this kid is just nasty. And he's 29. He's not really a kid anymore, but wow, what a knockout from him. Just puts Nemo's lights out. Fazil has been dead quiet on social media, and I would be too if I walked in talking all that trash and then I got schlepped on live Paramount Plus TV. So Kaik Brito, I don't know who to matchmake you with, but at welterweight, he's definitely going to be getting somewhat of a more notable name. Out of everyone on this card, he's going to be taking on someone who has a bit more status in the UFC, if you want to use that word. An Oban Elliott rematch could be in the cards, but I just don't really know if they view that as the money fight. Preston Parsons, I don't know if he's still in the UFC. He might have been cut. He could be an option. Charles Radke, I'm always down for. I think Charles Radke could be fun. Guys, there's tons of people out there. Gilbert Urbina even. I'm excited to see Kaik Brito in the UFC. And as for Nemo Fazil, he's good. I guarantee that they'll bring him back next season if he can win, that he will go to the PFL and be dominant. Maybe they'll bring him in short notice. But man, you got slept bad, Fazil. You really did. You really got slept, and it was satisfying to see. I mean, the guy was just being cocky, and the Apex was roaring when he came out. The biggest fan base we have ever seen for an Apex fighter of all time, and he gets slept. The arena went silent, and Brito's corner was going nuts. So 12 seconds in the round 3, Brito sleeps him. So yes, Roman and Tanner both get contracts for their fight of the night. Alik Lorenz, Christian Perez, Trent Miller, and Kaik Brito all get contracts for their finishes. And you know what? A perfect night, and it's going to be hard to top. It really is. But for the 10th season, this is exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for these big moments. We're looking for good fights, and this one absolutely delivered. So that was all we have for Dana White's Contender Series, and you already know we'll be back next week. We don't need to sugarcoat it. We're going to be back next week predicting what's going down on episode 3, so look forward to that. But before we talk about UFC Sacramento and drop our official predictions, I got a little movie review for you. That's right, I went to the movies last night, kind of impromptu, to see The End of Oak Street, a sci-fi / adventure movie with Anne Hathaway starring, Ewan McGregor. Those were the two main stars in that. I guess Bethany Ann Lind had a little role. She's credited. But End of Oak Street, directed by Mr. David Robert Mitchell, who's also directed It Follows. That's a notable horror film. Directs this movie, and the entire plot is in the 80s. There's this nice family, and they live in this neighborhood, and then a big bright light comes. Oh, what happens? Their entire neighborhood is transported a million years into the past, where they now are in the center of a dinosaur living world. Yeah, that's really the plot of it. It's sci-fi, if you will. They kind of explain it that there's a wormhole, and they got sucked there, and I don't know if this is based off of a book or something, I'll be honest, but it's such an original plot. I'll say the acting is really good for Ewan and Anne. Okay, I think that's the strong point. I also like two of the kids. So there's two kids that play major roles in this. You have Maisie Stella, she's the daughter, and you have Christian Covery, he is the son. You then do have Jordan Alexa Davis, who plays Jeanette, who's this girl that the son has a crush on, who then ends up being a lesbian lover with the daughter. That was just kind of weird. We did have PJ Bard in this. He was in The Wolf of Wall Street. He was in The Boys. He kind of played the annoying neighbor, and he gets killed, which was funny. You also had Emily Kuroda playing this sort of, librarian who ends up sacrificing herself at the end. She was in the Gilmore Girls. And then you had Hudson Joseph Meek, who was I think he was in a Baby Driver or something like that as a kid. I don't freaking know. But you know what? It was okay. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I will give it a 7 out of 10. Box office, right now it's hovering just below 60 million. The budget was around 90. So it's got some money to make back. But like I said, it's a risky play for an original film. The dinosaurs had sort of a unique design. There's obviously some weird plot holes in this. But I will say, my favorite moment in the film, spoiler alert coming, is there's a scene where Ewan McGregor dies. So the dad literally dies, and we just don't do that in films enough. Now, ultimately, he ends up coming back. But I kind of liked how they brought him back. All right? Because it was he walks up and he knocked out a T-Rex with literally a baseball bat. And you're kind of just everyone in the theater kind of rolled their eyes. And then literally the T-Rex rips his leg off and then eats him. And it's such a shocking moment because movies just don't do that nowadays. They play it safe. And I love that we did play it safe. They also really teased the dog dying in this. I'm so glad they didn't kill the dog called Starbuck. That made me so happy. That was really a point where I was like, if they kill the dog, I'm going to be freaking pissed. But yeah, at the end of the day, it kind of, I don't know what the theme of this was. There was drama. There was bits of comedy. Obviously, there were some action scenes. It was almost a thriller at times. You didn't know what was going to occur. The sci-fi aspect was there. So you got a bit of everything. And it had a conclusive ending, I'll say. It did. It kind of explained stuff as much as it, obviously is illogical, in a logical sense. I'll just say one of the more annoying things, they just, I feel didn't explore stuff enough. And it was kind of if you left your house, you're going to get eaten by dinosaurs. But then there's giant plot holes where they're having these big dialogue scenes just standing out in the middle of the open. The kid wanders off on his own and manages to survive. But you know what? I won't complain too much. It gets a generous 7 out of 10. A generous 7. But I think it's worth it as a home video. Theater experience, I don't think you're missing much. Not seeing it in the theater. I say you could watch this or rent this and have just as enjoyable experience watching it in your living room. It's better than the drama. Let me tell you that. I have my thoughts on the drama. That movie, I don't even want to say it sucks, but it's just no, I'm not even going to get into it. It just has no conclusiveness to it. But The End of Oak Street, you know what? 7 out of 10. Ewan McGregor has a fun role in this. Anne Hathaway's a great actress. And the kids, I believe them. The kids were believable. 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb. 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. Generous. generous. PG-13 rating. I guess they could have gotten more violent with an R, but it doesn't matter too much to me. So there's my thoughts. Go check it out. We've been watching so many new movies this year. We're still building up to the big ones, Doomsday and Dune Part 3. But ladies and gentlemen, let's do it. We got 13 fights as of Wednesday the 19th coming at you from the Golden One Center in Sacramento, California. And the good news is we've only had one fight fall through. Cody Steele was supposed to fight Gage Young. Cody Steele unfortunately had to pull out. But luckily, Gage Young has stayed on the card. So let's get right on into it. Here's your official UFC Sacramento predictions. Kicking off the night, we are in the women's strawweight division as Chanel the Nightmare Dyer takes on Elise Reed. Yeah, Elise Reed does not get a nickname. Apparently, I think that's a bit offensive to Elise Reed. I honestly could care less. But Chanel Dyer, minus 650 favorite. Elise Reed's coming in plus 455 dog. 8-year age gap. Chanel's 25. Elise is 33. 5'6" to 5'3". Bit of height for Chanel, 65 to 63 in inches on the reach. Chanel Dyer has the reach advantage. Let's start with Chanel. You know, she's the newbie. She was on season 9 of Dana White's Contender Series, and she lost. She lost a hard-fought fight to Carol Foro, but her resilience to survive 3 knockdowns is what earned her a contract. One of the best women's fights I've ever seen, not just on Dana White's Contender Series, but in just MMA in general. Now, Chanel relied on her grappling in that, went 0 for 11 on takedowns, was kind of in survival mode, okay? Then made her debut in March in London and ran through Ravina Oliveira, TKO'd her in round number 2, got herself a performance bonus. Excellent work from Chanel Dyer. And, you know, she trains out of Great Britain Top Team. She's born and raised out of London, same gym as Nathaniel Wood, Alfie Davis, Mark Diakise, you know, a lot of fighters you might have recognized that have fought in the UFC or even the PFL. Of her 7 wins, 5 of them are knockouts. She did notoriously go 3-0 in the PFL. So, yeah, right now is 1-1, or I guess 1-0 in the UFC. Her Dana White Contender Series loss has aged well because Carol Foro is a killer and she rebounded it accordingly. Chanel Dyer, massive favorite here coming into Sacramento. As for Elise Reed, she's a massive underdog. Okay, obviously not a lot of people are picking Elise Reed to win. Born out of Sacramento, California. So she is the hometown girl. She has been training out of Kickside Martial Arts out there in New Jersey. Of her 8 wins, 2 knockouts. Of her 5 losses, been knocked out or submitted in all of them. She's gone 4-5 in the UFC, debuted 5 years ago, and has gone win-loss the entire way. So, you know, according to that trend, it would say she's going to win here because she lost her last matchup in May 2025. But, yeah, I'm going to just point out she's only really lost to tough competitors, but also at the same time, like, she's averaging 1 fight a year over the last 3 years. So, doesn't bode well for this fight. I think Chanel Dyer knocks her out in, at best, round number 2. Definitely going with Chanel Dyer here. But it is good to see a little Sacramento representation. And I'll say that is Elise Reed has the fact that she's from Sacramento and that historically she's not lost 2 fights in a row in her entire career. So, that's all she has going for her. Other than that, I don't see anything. Chanel Dyer should piece her up. Then we're getting into the middleweight division for the men as Wes Party Time Schultz takes on Jackson the Moose McVeigh. Jackson McVeigh at minus 175 is coming in as the favorite against the plus 155 dog in Wes Schultz. Jackson is 27, Wes is 30. Both men naturally fight at middleweight. 6'4" to 6'1". Height goes to McVeigh. They both do have a 77-inch reach. We'll start with the favorite here, Jackson McVeigh. Jackson McVeigh has so far had 3 fights in the UFC. He's been with the company now for a little over 1 year. Obviously ran into Bruno Ferreira in his debut, then took on Zach Reese to end last year, but took on Cedric Dumas in April and managed to run through him, getting a round 1 Darce choke. He does train out of the MMA lab in Phoenix, Arizona. You hear about that gym all the time. Obviously, Benson Henderson's trained there. Alex Caceres, Mario Bautista, Jared Cannonier, Jakar Klaus, Brian Bam 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 Arena, Jose Delgado, who we mentioned earlier, a lot of guys. 100% finish rate, 3 KOs and 4 subs, and both of his losses have come by submission, so he's never been the distance. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Jess McVeigh has never been past round 2. No, and he's only ever been to round 2 once, and that was in the Zach Reese fight. So he's ready, he's hungry, and he's finally the favorite for once in a UFC fight. As for Wes Schultz, Wes Schultz is 1-1 in the UFC, and he's also gone 1-1 on the Contender Series. That is right. The man from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who trains out of Pura Vida BJJ/MMA, same gym as former UFC fighter Ricky Glenn, Zach Otowo, and current UFC fighter Montel Jackson. The man is, a submission artist. 6 subs out of his 9 wins, 2 knockouts as well. 2 of his 3 losses have come by knockout. He ultimately did lose to Damian Pinas in his debut, but we know just how good Damian Pinas is. Season 8 of the Contender Series, lost to Mansour Duke Malik, won against Mario Minaj with a Sulov stretch last season, and then did pick up a win over Ben Johnston in May. That was a interesting win. Ben Johnston had 1 round 1, 1 round 2, and then ultimately choked it and lost round 3. So he's back. He's only submissions. All right, I will say the knockdowns are perplexing with Wes Schultz because he really is all about the submissions. Like, he just wants to take you down and submit you. So we'll see how he can do. Jax McVeigh does intrigue me a bit more. I feel like on a prospect base, I think he's more well-rounded on the feet. And if he can defend a takedown, I think he'll get it done. So I am going to go with Jax McVeigh. I guess Arizona's closer to Sacramento, so he's kind of the hometown guy, but hey, it is what it is. We're going to go with Jackson McVeigh. I would say this fight is 50-50, though. Next up, lightweight division. Shout out to Gage Young for taking a fight on short notice, and shout out to his opponent in Stan the Drill Dorsainville. Plus 135 right now. Gage Young, only a minus 155 favorite. Both men are 26, naturally fight at lightweight, 5'10 to 5'9. A bit of height for Stan, but it's the reach, 76 to 70, which does fall in his favor. Now, for Gage G Money Young, he's a veteran now of the UFC. The man was born and raised in Sedalia, Missouri, and of his 11 wins, has 6 knockouts and 1 sub. Been with the company now for a little over a year. Same goes as him for Mr. Jackson McVeigh. Came around in 2025. He was a Season 8 Contender Series guy. Lost to Quinlan Sakiat on there, who didn't knock him out. Did lose his debut to Evan Elder, but wrapped up the year in August last year, defeating Mahashan, and then ran through Thiago Moises in Canada earlier this year in April. Won a split decision. I would say that he won the fight. Lost round 1, came back thunderous in round 2, definitely won round 3. So, Gage Young, tough prospect. Ultimately, he has been, all over. He's been in kickboxing, been a pro since 2020, and he's gotten some good experience so far. So I am excited to see him return to the octagon. A lot of people talk about him as a good opponent for a lot of young guys, he himself being young. And he was supposed to take on Cody Steele, which would have been a legendary fight, but Stan, the Drill Dorsavel, is stepping in. Now, he is from Florida. Trains under Travis Taylor. He has a BJJ background. His gym is the Combat Club. The mascot is Bruno Brewer, who is a bulldog, and I cannot find really any other notable fighters from here. Now, what you need to know about Mr. Stan, he's fought twice in the LFA, recently won in May, and it had been 2 years since his last fight. That's right, he became a pro in 2023. In less than a year and a half, he racked up 4 straight wins, 3 of them being submissions. Ultimately was out from November of 2024 until May of 2026, where he returned and defeated Dan Holt with a round 3 TKO. So he's back. He was also 4-0 as an amateur from 2019 to 2022, winning 2 amateur belts. So Stan is here. Stan is ready. He might be a world-class talent, but I don't know a lick about him. I'm happy he won, but, taking a big gap there isn't the most encouraging thing. So I am going to go with Mr. G Money, Gage Young, to get it done. And hey, you know what? Anything can happen. Anything can, we can witness any type of action. But if Stan gets an upset, I won't be too mad. I could say this is 50-50. But if you're going to bet, I would honestly put my money on Gage Young. Dropping down to 145, we're in featherweight as Marcio Barbosa is back, Tikoto, to take on Ryan. Third Street Savage Coos. And there's a little to be said here. I'll be honest. Marcio Barbosa is the minus 900 favorite. Ryan Coos is plus 615. I don't know if there was supposed to be someone else Marcio Barbosa was supposed to take on, but this just feels like a step down in competition for him. He's 28, Ryan's 32. Bit of height for Ryan, bit of reach, but Marcio Barbosa is a completely different breed. This guy is 18-2 with 15 knockouts and 2 submissions. He has joined the UFC in April. He was on season 9 where he got a round 1 knockout. He slept Dennis Bazukja in April. One of my favorite knockouts of the year. Put his lights out cold. This guy is also on a 5-fight winning streak, all of which have been round 1 knockouts. His last loss was to Gabriel Santos in the LFA 4 years ago. And wow, Gabriel Santos, former UFC fighter. And other than that, I mean, his round 1 wins are just ridiculous. He has so many. This guy's an absolute killer. Fights out of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Marcio Barbosa, all you gotta know is this guy has hands, and we are not picking against him. For Ryan Coos, trains out of the Goat Shed. Familiar with fighters from that gym. 2-fight winning streak. He's from Miami. Of his 9 wins, 6 KOs. Had a fight in Karate Combat in July. Got an MMA win in April. Before that, did defeat Kevin Natividad, former UFC fighter, in October in the LFA. Only loss is to Cameron Smotherman in Fury FC in 2024. I guess in the last while. He also holds a decision loss in 2022. But not too bad of a fighter, I'd say. But just no chance. Just no chance. Marcio Barbosa is a guy where it's going to take him reaching the rankings for us to talk about him losing a fight. So, minus 900 is generous. It'll probably rise to minus 1,000. Marcio Barbosa by round 1 knockout. Take it to the bank. Put your life savings on it. He is going to get this one done. Now, next matchup, lightweight division. Here's where we get back to our 50-50 competitive fights as Chris Taco Padilla takes on Nasrat Haq Parasat. Very competitive fight here. Nasrat's at minus 110. Chris is at minus 110. This is as even as it gets. 31 years of age. It's actually happy birthday to Nasrat today. Chris Padilla is 30 years old. He turns 31 in around 3 to 4 weeks. 1 inch a night goes to Nasrat. 2 inches in reach to Padilla. Pretty similar all around. Southpaw stands for Nasrat. Orthodox for Chris Padilla. We can start with Nasrat. Nasrat's had a very, very interesting run so far in the UFC. Now, this man hails from Morocco, was born in Germany, and trains out of the TriStar Gym in Quebec. That is the gym that produced GSP, and more notably, someone who you may recognize has fought in there is Arnold Allen, as well as Mr. Who fought at the White House. He fought Sean O'Malley. I cannot remember his name. Oh my goodness, who frickin', what's his name? I gotta look at the rankings here, guys. That's how memorable he is. Amin Zahavi, there we go. His brother's actually a main coach there. But Nasrat has 10 wins by knockout, 50% of his losses he's been finished in. And he had previously been on a run. 5 straight wins, Fight of the Nights against Esteban, great fights against Jared Gordon, knocking out Jamie Malarkey, and then ran into Quinlan Sakiat in October. And of course, the rest is history, where John Anik famously said, but his parents own a bakery, and then he got hit with the knockout of the year head kick. Just legendary. Just legendary. Slumps him, and Nasrat's taken a while off. And as he should have. I mean, he got slept bad. Very, very bad. Now, Nasrat's been around the block. He's fought in Mark Diakise, Drew Dober, Dan Hooker, King Green. So he's experienced. I'll say I'm surprised he's only 31. I honestly thought he was an older guy, but hey, you know what? Not that bad. Nasrat, he brings a striking style in. Not really a grappler. He can get scrappy at times. We'll see how he does against Chris Padilla. Chris Padilla still yet to lose in the UFC. He's also on a 7-fight unbeaten streak. Born in Linwood, California, now fights out of Gardena, California, so he is going to get the home crowd advantage. Of his 17 wins, 14 finishes, 9 knockouts and 5 subs. He has also lost 50% of his fights by getting finished. 4 wins in the UFC, 1 draw. It's been a decent run so far. Debuted 2 years ago, got a round 1 rear naked chokehold, then defeated Rong Zhu due to injury, or cut-wise, defeated Jai Herbert by split decision last March. In November, got a knockout of Ishmael Bonfim, and then fought in April in Miami and took Marquel Medeiros to a majority draw. Very fun fight. Chris came out and won round 1, won round 2, and I thought won round 3, but it turns out they might have, I think a point deduction might have taken place. Something happened here, but Chris Padilla is back. I've seen nothing that makes me think he can't get past Nasrat. Nasrat's obviously a tough competitor. His win over Esteban Ribovics is good. I did think Esteban won that. His win over Jared Gordon was good. I thought Jared Gordon won that. So we'll see how he does. This should be a high output fight in terms of striking, but I am leaning towards Mr. Taco, Chris Padilla, to get the victory. Then finally, we're on to our heavyweights. I love heavyweights. If you are not aware, I love watching heavyweight fighters because they are just 2 big boys who like to swing their fists. And stepping in will be Kennedy and Nzechukwu and Shamil Gaziev. That's right, the return of Shamil Gaziev. I love me a little Shamil. And he's the favorite, -130 against Kennedy, Chosen, and Nzechukwu. 36-34. Shamil is older, 6'5" to 6'4". Kennedy's, usually taller than people, but Shamil's tall as well. 83-78.5. There's where we get the reach advantage going to Kennedy and Nzechukwu. UFCstats.com has it at 78-83, so about 5 inches. In terms of the weight, Shamil weighs in right around the heavyweight limit at 264. Kennedy's last fight was 243, so he is on the lighter side of the heavyweight. So we'll start with him. He fights southpaw, and Kennedy has been all over the place. The man was born in Nigeria, now fights out of Fortis MMA in Dallas, Texas. He's currently ranked on Tapology as the number 22 of 46 heavyweight in the UFC. Of his 14 wins, 10 KOs and 1 sub, he's gone 8-6-1 in the company and was supposed to take on Vitor Petrino in March of this year. Unfortunately, that fight fell apart. He pulled out, and Vitor ended up taking on Steven Asplund, who we'll talk about later. Kennedy's been with the company since 2017, where he won on Season 1 of the Contender Series, didn't get a contract, came back on Season 2, got a contract, and then debuted in 2019, so I guess you could say 2019. Lost to Paul Craig in his debut, won 3 straight fights, including he's the only man to not only beat Carlos Hulberg, but knock him out. I find that crazy. Would then lose 2 fights, would then win 3 fights, including a main event over Ian Kudalaba, would then get knocked out by Dustin Jacoby, lose to Ovince St. Preux, before finally making the jump to heavyweight in October of 2024. He would win his first 2 fights pretty easily with round 1 finishes, before running into Walter Walker, and then took on Marcus Buchechka in December and took him to a draw. Yeah, very, very weird fight. Kennedy, I don't even know what happened in this fight. All right, but Kennedy and Nzechukwu lost the first 2 rounds and then 10-8'd him in the final round. So it was very weird. Every judge agreed it was a 10-8, or a 28-28 fight. Kennedy is much more of a striker, though. That's all you need to know. He's much more known for his hands. He struggles with grapplers, but he also struggles with power punchers, which is what Shamil brings to the table. Shamil Gaziev is from Bahrain, actually born in Dagestan. Funny enough, trains out of KHK MMA team, that gym that is based out of Bahrain. Islam's gotten some reps in there. Ikram Al-Kasarev, Mohamed Moikayev, Magomed Magomedov. A lot of guys have gotten in reps at that gym. 9 KOs and 3 subs give him 12 of 14 wins by finish, and all of his losses he's been knocked out in. It hasn't been a pretty run for Mr. Shamil. Came in off of Season 7 of the Contender Series and ran through Martin Boudet. And you know what? He was sitting at 12-0, undefeated, and everyone was like, he deserves a main event against Jairzinho Rosenstruck. And everyone's like, yeah, he does. He would then win round 1 and proceed to get absolutely pieced apart for the next 3 rounds before the fight was stopped. We'll follow that up with a win over Dontel Mays, who would knock out Thomas Pearson, and then unfortunately knocked out by Waldo Cortez Acosta in November, and in May was just ran through by Brando Peric. Now, I will say he landed some good shots. It was a fight of the night. He stood his ground, but still Brando Peric proved to be superior. So, when we do look at the losses of Shamil Gaziev, Jairzinho was a former top 10 fighter. You got Mr. Waldo ranked at number 5, and you got Brando Peric at number 15. So, Shamil's game, I think Shamil can knock out Kenny and Nzechukwu. I'll be honest, Shamil is going to be a guy where he'll need to make some adjustment to get over the hump. But other than that, he can run through all of these unranked, lower level guys. So give me Shamil knocking out Kenny and Chukwu. I just don't know if Kenny possesses the power to knock out Shamil. He might, but both guys are on little losing streaks / draws, if you will. We'll see if either man can make the changes to get the victory. Before we get to our other heavyweight bouts of the evening, we're going to arrive in the women's. Actually, no. Which fight are they going to have next? It's going to be featherweight. Okay, I'm seeing what bout order they're going with, and they're going featherweight here. And this fight's similar to the Marcio Barbosa-Ryan Cruz. I don't know what more people want me to say, but Jamal Emmers is taking on Larian Douglas. And Larian Douglas is called the gunslinger for a reason, because he is freaking insane. 14-5. He's got about an inch less in height than Jamal Emmers, 2 inches less in reach. They both fight orthodox. Jamal Emmers, plus 310 underdog, is 6 years older at 37. But we'll start with Larian, because Larian Douglas has come into the UFC. He's season 9 guy, ran through Cam Teague in 36 seconds, then took on Julian Erosa in March in Seattle and just brutalized him. Ended up knocking him out with a jab. Like a stiff jab, dropped Julian Erosa. Just violent. He is just a violent individual. Not like the domestic abuse violence, but just how he fights. 6 straight wins. Trains out of Bloodline Combat MMA. I believe that gym is associated with Cub Swanson. Could be, yes, his head coach is Cub Swanson. He was born in Brazil, but now fights out of Huntington Beach, California. So he's technically the hometown guy. Ranked at number 30 out of 92 active featherweights in the UFC. Of his 14 wins, 8 knockouts, 2 subs. He also went 4-1 in the LFA. And, this guy's fought in some names you may recognize outside the UFC. One of his losses was to Chepe Mariscal back in 2018, and Isaac Thompson, who actually has fought in the UFC. That's right. He took on, if I'm not mistaken, Joe Anderson Brito. That was his last loss 3 years ago. Since then, just been on an absolute tear. LFA champion, won on the Contender Series, and is now looking for his second UFC victory as he takes on Jamal Emmers. But hey, Jamal Emmers, don't blink. He's on a 2-fight winning streak. Okay, a lot of people forget Jamal Emmers can be good when he needs to. Trains out of Eagle FC. He's from Redlands, California. That's where he fights out of. 9 knockouts and 3 subs give him 12 finishes out of 22 professional victories. He's gone 5-4 in the UFC. And last year went 2-0. Knocked out Gabriel Miranda and upsettingly defeated Hyder Emil. Last loss was Nate Landwehr in March of 2024. Other than that, he's taken on Pat Sabatini, Giga Chikadze, Jack Jenkins, fought some tough guys. I will note that Giga Chikadze and Jack Jenkins fights, he took to split decisions. So there's that. His only real bad losses were on the Contender Series in 2018, and he got heel hooked by Pat Sabatini 5 years ago and knocked out by Nate Landwehr 3 years ago, or 2.5, you could say. So Jamal is bringing a grappling style into this one, but I know he has hands. I just think once he gets into a fist fight with Larian Douglas, it's not going to go pretty. So, easy pick for me. Larian Douglas, round 1 knockout. He is one of those guys, like Marcio Barbosa, who, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Keep picking him to get the finishes. Keep picking him to get it done. Now, is this the toughest opponent that, Larian Douglas has ever fought in? Technically, but Julian Erosa holds a win over Jamal Emmers, and he ran through Julian Erosa. So, MMA math would say he should win. But we'll have to see. Should be an exciting matchup, and it's either going to be kicking off the main card or ending the prelims. So, next fight confirmed to be on the main card is Anthony Wint taking on Terrence Chapman. And, this fight is so funny for so many reasons. But all you need to know is Anthony Wint just fought on episode 1 of the Contender Series and already has a fight. He is also the biggest favorite on this card at minus 1,000. Terrence Chapman, plus 660. Literally nothing is known about Terrence Chapman. There's nothing on the UFC page, hardly. There's nothing on Tapology. So we had to scrap together some stuff here. So here's what you need to know. Anthony went to 7-0. Terrence is 5-1. Okay, Anthony is on the lighter side of heavyweights. Terrence Chapman's going to be one of those guys coming in at like 266. Both fight orthodox. Anthony Wint is 30 years old. Terrence is 28. And Terrence is going to have 3 inches in height that much that we were actually able to figure out right now. But for Anthony Wynn, I mean, a thunderous debut, ran through Matt Adams in 34 seconds. This guy has had nothing but entertaining fights. All of his wins are by finish, besides one, which was back in 2025, and only his third professional fight. But yes, he recently ran through Mr. Matt Adams. This guy is a former NFL player, jacked as could be, got hands for days, and we didn't even get to see that much of him on the Contender Series, so this honestly feels more like a second Contender Series fight or just a UFC debut against someone. So excited to see Anthony Wint. I'll just let you know we're picking him. We're picking Anthony Wint, but here's what we know about Mr. Terrence Chapman. So Terrence was born and fights out of Texas. That is right. He last fought July 19th in the Fury FC, got a round 1 finish. Only losses by split decision. That was in April of this year. Also had a 21-second knockout in January of this year. Was a pro. Went 4-0 as a pro. All but 2 of his fights have ended in round 1. So I'm excited to see what Terrence Chapman brings to the table. He appears to be kind of a light-skinned guy, braids, got some tattoos all over, a bit wonky. His nickname is The Answer. Maybe he's the answer. Maybe he knocks out Anthony Wint. We don't know, but for now, I am going to be riding with Anthony Wint. Round 1 finish, fairly simple. All right, into a very high-level women's matchmaking fight here. I am excited for this one. Both women's fights on this card are very good. Women's flyweight features top prospects Julia Abraba Chavez and Carly Crispy Judice. Carly 6-2. Jessla's 8-0. 1 inch in height goes to Carly. They both have a 68-inch reach. Southpaw stance for Judice. Orthodox for Jessla Chavez. Carly is the minus 500 favorite at 27 years of age. Jessla at plus 380 is the 29-year-old underdog. We'll start with Carly Judice. Carly Judice is probably the number 1 prospect outside of the rankings at women's flyweight. 3 straight wins, all of them dominant. She fights out of Lafayette, Louisiana, out of Head Kicks MMA, and of her 6 wins, has 5 knockouts. Did lose her debut by split decision to Gabriela Fernandez in a fight of the night in 2024, but she rebounded with back-to-back knockouts. That is right, knocked out Eunice Dubin last March, and knocked out Nicole Cagliari on the Dustin Poirier retirement card. Has had 1 fight this year in Houston. That was when she took on Juliana Miller and defeated her, which we know Juliana Miller has still got it, so impressive there. She also lost by split decision on Season 7 of the Contender Series, so her only 2 losses are split decisions. Carly Judice is a striker through and through, some nasty leg kicks. She actually is a reigning defending amateur champion out of Gulf Coast MMA, but she's been a pro for a while now. She's got some nasty kickboxing, and we're going to see how she does against the undefeated Jesla Chavez. Jesla Chavez has had 1 fight in the UFC. She is a Season 9 Contender Series veteran, where she won against Sofia Montenegro by split decision, and in June of this year, she took on Eunice Dubin and beat her by split decision. So she is from Brazil. Of her 7 wins, 3 knockouts. Actually weird. UFC Stats credits her at 8 wins. Tapology credits her at 7. There's 1 fight in King MMA that Tapology says is an ineligible fight, but the UFC is acknowledging it. Very precarious. But yeah, back-to-back split decisions isn't too enticing, if I'm being honest. I think that's why she's a big underdog. And the striking and grappling isn't anything outer-worldly, but nonetheless, she's still an undefeated prospect. Still has looked decent, through her 2 fights on the Contender Series and in the UFC. But Carly Judice has just looked so crisp. I mean, there's a reason her nickname is Crispy. It's because that's what her striking is. So give me Carly Judice. Dare I say round 3 knockout? I think she takes her into deep waters and gets her out of there. That's just my humble opinion. I think we see a lot of finishes on this Sacramento card. With that, we dive into the lightweight division, our final fight in this weight class for the card, as Marquel Medeiros takes on Mason the Dragon Jones. Mason, minus 260, 31-year-old favorite. Marquel Medeiros, 29, plus 220 underdog. Both men are 5'10". You get about 4 to 5 inches in reach for Mason Jones as well. And age-wise, these guys are just dead even, 31-29, I mentioned that. Anything else? No, notably, no. Orthodox for both guys, yeah. Size-wise, very similar. Where they're going to differ is in their journeys. So, Marquel Medeiros, Okay, Markwell is from Colorado, trains out of Factory X Muay Thai, is on a 9-fight winning streak. Of his 11 wins, 6 of them are by knockout. And that's right, he has not lost a fight since 2022. His only loss was by split decision. He would pick up some wins in Fury FC before landing on this Contender Series in 2023, getting a round 1 finish. He would then make his debut against Landon Quiones, running through him, taking Austin Hubbard to a split decision, defeating Mark Choinsky on short notice, and then having a draw against the man we mentioned earlier, Chris Padilla. So, yeah, Marco Medeiros, much more of a striker, I would say. I've seen him mix in a takedown, but yeah, he's pretty decent. He's got the unique look. He's got the tough style, if you will. But I don't know how game he's gonna be for Mason Jones, because Mason Jones has just completely revitalized himself. Mason Jones had been in the UFC before. Okay, he had a little stint from 2021 to 2022. Where he went 1-2 with a no contest, all right? Lost to Mike Davis at Fight of the Night, had a no contest against Alan Patrick, defeated David Onama, which was impressive, and then lost the decision to Ludwig Klein, and he was cut. The UFC said, we just don't see anything in you anymore. So he leaves, and he had previously been in Cage Warriors. He had actually previously been undefeated in Cage Warriors. So he leaves and immediately gets back to work, all right? Ends 2023 with back-to-back knockouts, then kicks off 2024 with a knockout and ends the year winning a tough decision. That would actually earn him another UFC contract where he would take on Jeremy Stevens in Iowa in May last year, defeating him handsomely. He had the comeback of the year against Balaji Oki in September, getting almost finished in round 1 to getting the round 2 knockout. And he's had one fight this year, and it is a fight of the year contender against Axel Sola in London, and he won that fight. And we know how freaking good Axel Sola is. So the winning streak is at 7. The man from Blavion, Wales, 8 knockouts, 3 subs, never been finished, 12-0 in Cage Warriors. He is an absolute warrior. Actually, former Cage Warriors champion. Funny enough, fun fact for you. So Mason Jones is coming in, ranked at number 50 of 95 on Tapology for lightweights. And here's the thing. Marco Medeiros has been in a dogfight or two. But I just think Mason Jones is a different ballgame. He's 18-2. He has more experience. He's the veteran here. And I'm going to go with Mason Jones. I think Mason Jones, I don't know if a finish is on the cards, but I just think he is just so game. He's just such a hard fighter that Marco Medeiros is going to crumble before him. And Mason Jones is going to get this one done. So I am riding with the Dragon in here, repping Wales. All right, we're into our big 3. On this card, we head to the light heavyweight division, and ironically enough, it's for 2 guys coming over from the middleweight division. That's right, the number 15 and the number 9 middleweights, Rare Day Ritter and Roman Dolidze, are moving up in weight. And the UFC has decided, let's see who's the better in this weight class. RDR is minus 350. Roman Dolidze is plus 270. 38-35. Roman's older. Height-wise, 6'4", 6'2". Rainer's has more height. And then 78-76, the reach lies with Rainer Day Ritter as well. For Mr. Rainer Day Ritter, this man debuted in November of 2024. And from November 2024 to March 2026, you're looking at about a year and 5 months, okay? All right, about a year and 5 months, he was able to get together 6 frickin' fights, okay? And this is already going to be his second fight his third fight within a calendar year when he takes on Roman Dolidze here. Rare Day Ritter was unfortunately the victim of just fighting too frequently. He's from Netherlands, double champion out and won the premier brand in Asia, and he came in red hot. Finished Gerald Mearshart, defeated Kevin Holland, first man to defeat Bo Nickel, and then had my favorite main event last year for a fight night against Robert Whittaker. Split decision, one of the closest fights you'll ever see on verdict. Then made a quick turnaround, was supposed to take on Anthony Hernandez, ended up taking on Brendan Allen, and after dominating him in round 1, gassed out. Lost round 2, lost round 3, looked awful in round 4, and quit on the stool. He would make a little 5-month turnaround to take on Kyle Barallo, and got 30-27 in a fight I thought he was winning. Very weird. I don't know what fight I was watching. I thought he won rounds 1 and 3, but shows what freaking Zach knows. 1 and 2, actually. I thought he won the whole fight. But anyways, he's back. He's a great fighter. 4 knockouts, 14 subs. 18 of 21 wins by finish. He's ranked at number 8 on Tapology for middleweights. This guy is pretty freaking good. As for his opponent, Rainer de Reyer's opponent, Roman Dolidze, it's not been the best run as of late. Roman, at one point, I'd say was regarded as a tough guy, but just been kind of trending downwards. Born in Georgia, fights out of Extreme Couture in Vegas, 8 KOs, 3 subs, so 11 of 15 wins by finish, 9 and 5 overall in the UFC. But here's a guy who debuted in 2020. All right, 6 years ago, picks up 2 wins, drops a decision, picks up 4 wins, including big ones over Phil Hawes and Jack Hermanson. Loses to Vettori, loses to Imavov in his first ever main event, then defeats Anthony Smith, defeats Kevin Holland, defeats Marvin Vettori in a main event, and he's looking good. Then gets ragdolled by Anthony Hernandez a year ago in August. Just ran through, brutally submitted in round number 4. Then takes on Christian Leroy Duncan in March, and I legit have zero clue how he didn't get finished, all right? Fought back to maybe win round 3. But I'll be honest, was outstruck 54-10 significantly and didn't really do much. So, Roman, I just don't know what Dolidze could offer except a lucky punch or a lucky submission that Rainer de Ritter hasn't seen. So, I am going to go with RDR. I do think RDR is the better fighter overall, and I'm going to need to see something special from the 38-year-old Dolidze to prove that he still belongs in the UFC. Because if he loses, he's going to get fed to an up-and-coming middleweight. Someone like a Damian Pinas or a freaking a David Gadiar. Go, guys like that. But let's get into our co-main event. We're back for our final heavyweight matchup of the evening. I love heavyweights. And it features the number 6 ranked Sergey Spivak taking on the unranked Vitor Petrino. That's right, Vitor is still unranked, but he's been making a killing in the heavyweight division. He's actually the minus 170 favorite heading into this weekend. Plus 140 is Sergey Spivak. 31-28, the polar bear from Moldova is older, 6'3", 6'2". Bit of height. So both have a 78-inch reach. Size-wise, they're very similar. Style-wise, not that similar. So we'll start with Sergey Spivak. All right, notable top 10 mainstay in the heavyweight division. Like, this guy has been in the top 10 at heavyweight, I kid you not, for easily the last 6 years. Something like that. Obviously, kicked off his career, lost to Walt Harris, submitted to Tuivasa, lost to Tibura. Kind of awkward. Then picked up 3 good wins. Then lost to Tom Aspinall. Then picked up 3 good wins, including a main event win of Derek Lewis. Then got knocked out by Cyril Gane in Paris. Then won a main event against Marcin Tibura. Then got TKO'd by Hilton Almeida. That was a fun fight, though, last year in January. Then in June, got outboxed on the feet by Waldo Cortez Acosta. And then, in a weird fashion, outboxed Ante Delege in Houston on the feet. Just something that no one saw coming. He is a finisher, thankfully. 15 of 18 wins by finish. 9-6 in the UFC. He actually has famously 3 canceled fights with Shamil Gaziev last year. But yeah, it's so weird. With Ante Delege, that fight was completely fought and on the feet, and he outstruck him 67-61 significantly, and got the 30-27 decision. So Spivak is coming in with some momentum. The Polar Bear is trying to defend his number 6 ranking against the unranked Vitor Petrino. Vitor is 28 years young, and he hails from Brazil. Trains out of the CM system. Of his 14 wins, 8 knockouts, and 2 subs, he's had a very weird run in the UFC. Kicks off season 6 of Contender Series, knocking out Rodolfo Bellato in a comeback. Fight of the night in his debut, submits Marcin Prachinio, knocks out Modestas Bukauskas, defeats Tyson Pedro. He's looking good at 11-0. Then, after outpacing Anthony Smith on the feet, lands a takedown and gets submitted 2 years ago. Ended 2024 getting knocked out by Dustin Jacoby in nasty fashion. He would take 7 months off, moving up to heavyweight. Would run through Austin Lane, would knock out Thomas Peterson, and then picked up an enjoyable win over Steven Asplund in March. So, Vitor Petrino is good. Like I said, 7-2 in the UFC. But at heavyweight, Asplund's a notable win, but also that was a close fight. It was a debatable decision. For Sergey Spivak, look, okay, I was thinking Vitor Petrino all week, but I'll be honest, Spivak has only lost to world-class talent. And when I say that, he lost to prime Walt Harris, a close decision to Marcin Tibura, prime Tom Aspinall, prime Cyril Gane, prime Hilton Almeida, and Waldo Cortez Acosta, who is currently ranked above him at number 5. So I haven't found a lot of underdogs I like on this card, But I'm thinking to end out this card, I think the underdogs can eat. I'm going to go Sergey Spivak to defeat Vitor Petrino. With the hands, I lean with Vitor. I think he packs more power. But we have not really seen Vitor Petrino dug into the deep waters grappling-wise, and that's where Spivak can capitalize. So give me the Moldovan, Sergey Spivak, getting a submission victory here. This is kind of catching me off guard. I've changed my prediction to Sergey Spivak. Which brings us to our main event middleweight division as the number 11th ranked Gregory Rodriguez takes on the number 6th ranked Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. RoboCop versus Fluffy. And Hernandez is the minus 175 favorite. Gregory plus 145 underdog. 34-32. Gregory is older. 3 inches in height is what he has as an advantage there, but they both have a 75-inch reach. Let's start with the 6th ranked Hernandez, man. Anthony Hernandez, I think a lot of people thought was going to be in for a big year. You know, he had been trending in the right direction, all right? He had been on a crazy winning streak. It had been up to 8 straight wins. The days of losing to Kevin Holland at welterweight were far over back in 2020. He had gone on a great run defeating Rodolfo Vieira, Marc-Andre Barriault, Edmund Shabazian, Roman Kopilov, Michel Pereira, Brendan Allen, and running through Roman Dolidze put him on the map. Then took on Sean Strickland and just kind of froze. Went 0 for 1 on takedowns, got a brutally outstruck 110-55, and didn't really even throw anything back at Sean. And he's ranked at number 6, but like his wins haven't aged that good. Like the Brendan Allen win's good, but Roman Kopilov, Michel Pereira, Roman Dolidze, those all just haven't aged the best. So he's a grappler through and through, but thankfully he's an entertaining grappler. You know, he's a guy who's grappling you, going for submissions, TKOing you in the process. He's pretty fun to watch. Anthony Hernandez does hail out of Dunnigan, California, so it is going to be probably a hometown pop for him. Tapology has him ranked in the number 5 middleweight, so 3 KOs, 9 subs, he's a finisher. All of his losses he's been finished in, and we'll see how he does against the finishing man in RoboCop, Gregory Rodriguez. Born in Amazonas, Brazil, he fights out of Deerfield Beach, Florida, and he's on a 3-fight winning streak. 15 out of 19 wins are by finish, including 11 knockouts. He's gone 10-3 in the UFC. Funny enough, this guy lost on Season 4 of the Contender Series, wins 2 fights, loses a split decision, has 2 great knockouts, gets knocked out by Bruno Ferreira, comes back with 3 big wins, loses his first main event against Jared Cannonier last February, follows it up with a stunning knockout of Jack Hermanson in June at International Fight Week last year, then defeats Roman Kopilov in a tough fight at Madison Square Garden, then fought in March on the Max Holloway Oliveira card, and knocked out his rival Bruno Ferreira in 1 minute and 47 seconds with only 2 punches. So Gregory's coming in with a lot of momentum. Of his last 3 wins, 2 performance of the night, round 1 knockouts. His only loss in the last 3 years is to Jared Cannonier in one of my favorite main events, almost finished him multiple times, and now he has been gifted another opportunity to jump into the top 10. He's been trying so hard. Okay, we gave him the Bruno Ferreira opportunity, we gave him the Jared Cannonier opportunity. This seems like the last opportunity RoboCop has to make the jump. So we are going to be seeing 2 styles clashing here. Can Gregory Rodriguez defend the takedowns of Anthony Hernandez? Can Anthony Hernandez survive the power punching of Gregory Rodriguez? And I can see any outcome happening here, but I'm honestly rooting for Gregory Rodriguez. Nothing personal against Anthony Hernandez, but Anthony, you know, you've had your opportunities. You didn't get them. For Gregory Rodriguez, it kind of feels like this is do or die for him. Like that you have to win here, or else you're not going to get another shot. So I will be rooting for Gregory Rodriguez, and I do believe his power will be what catapults him to a victory. So I am predicting Gregory Rodriguez to get another round 3 knockout over Anthony Hernandez. I think that's what's going to happen. You know, obviously I could be wrong, but Hernandez has good grappling. In terms of the takedown defense and success for these guys, Anthony averages 5.88 takedowns on every 15 minutes. His accuracy is at 48%. Takedown defense is at 75% for Gregory Rodriguez. Not too bad. Striking wise, is 5.53 to 4.57 strikes landed per minute. Gregory does land more. He also absorbs more punches. You know, this is going to be interesting. I am excited, though. So, Sacramento, you're being treated to a fun, feisty main event between 2 middleweights who really are, really desperately want to win this. And I'll say that's what makes it exciting is when these 2 guys, you know, Anthony Hernandez is fighting to maintain his position, prove he's still legit. And for Gregory Rodriguez, he's here to show, hey, I can truly hang with the best of the best in the middleweight division. So we'll see what happens, but I am going to ride with Gregory Rodriguez. So those are your predictions for UFC Sacramento. 13 fights as of today, coming at you from where's Sacramento? Is that middle of California? I guess I've never really looked where Sacramento is on the map of California. I've never really paid attention to that. Okay, it's near San Jose. Let me open this little map here live for you guys. So it's a bit inland. No, it's still near the water. Not too bad. It's it's in Northern California. It's like North San Francisco. Just head up the road and you're in Sacramento. Oh, look at that. I can take a bunch of tours for $45 and $25. Yeah, right. Get out of here, Google ads. So anyways, guys, that's all I have for this week. Let me know who you guys are going with for UFC Sacramento. We're in for a fun weekend. Going to be busy. Going to be fun. And we'll be back next week because we got UFC China next week. Who doesn't love that? And I start a new job Monday. I'm so pumped. That's right. I got a new job. I'm ready to get back to it. I start next Monday. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm signing off, and I'll catch you next time on the Surprise Jab Podcast.